Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my experience with psychosis. So the first type of psychosis I experienced was visual hallucinations. So I would see shadowy figures in the corner of my room. I would see animals running through my backyard, like horses and dogs. I would see birds flying into my window and like thumping into my window. And these were all visual hallucinations that I had during my manic episode. I also had a major visual hallucination where I would see text change. So if I was reading a book, the words would change and suddenly I would read my name in the book or read the name of someone I knew in the book. And then the story would change to be about that person, giving me information about that person, which wasn't true, but I read it with my own eyes. I would close the book and close my eyes and open it again, and the story would have changed to be about someone that I knew. Because of this, I was super afraid. I didn't know what was going on, so I started reading a lot of Quran, and even the Quran would change, where I would see my name in the Quran, and I would see the words change, and it would tell me that I was a hypocrite, or that I was a disbeliever, or that I was going to go to hell. So that was really distressing and scary at the time, seeing my name in the Quran and seeing all these horrible things about me in the Quran. I also had visual hallucinations where the images on a screen would change. So I would be watching a show, and the person in the show would stop what they were doing and face me and start to address me. Sometimes they would say threatening things towards me, or sometimes they would give me commands for things to do. And of course, while these things were happening, I didn't have any clue that I was experiencing hallucinations. I had no idea what was going on. It never occurred to me that there was anything wrong with my brain. I thought because I was in a manic episode at the time, at some points I thought that I was just a mystical figure and that I had opened my third eye and I could see into this unseen world. At other times, I thought that I had been tricked by the devil. I also had auditory hallucinations, so I would hear music and the lyrics would change and my name would be in there, or somehow the music would start addressing me or giving me commands. I remember once I was in a grocery store and the music changed and it started telling me to just walk around in circles around the grocery store. I also had this other auditory hallucination where I would hear a voice speaking into my left ear, and it was this weaselly, snarky voice, and it would tell me that I'm the devil. And then I heard a big, booming male voice speaking into my right ear, and it would tell me, I'm your Lord, I'm God. And I know that sounds very cartoonish when I say it, but at the time it was very real for me and it was really distressing. I also experienced tactile hallucinations, so I would feel like there were hands touching me. I would have gustatory hallucinations, so my food would taste like blood to me. And by that I mean like it tasted like I had bit my tongue or something because the food tasted metallic. I also had interoceptive hallucinations. So I originally thought that I was having heart problems instead of having mental problems because I would have a sensation of as if there was a bird in my chest, thumping, 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 trying to break free, and it felt like my heart was exploding. So I went to a cardiologist and they hooked me up to some tests, and after a few days, they said that there was nothing wrong with my heart, and he kind of insinuated that it might be anxiety, but I later realized that it was actually a hallucination. Other psychotic experiences I had were paranoid delusions, so I believe that the people at my workplace were saying awful things about me. I was really paranoid that they were gossiping about me and saying these horrible things. It got to the point where I was so paranoid and so agitated that I was going to go into work and scream at all of them to tell them to stop saying horrible things about me. But I'm so lucky that lockdown happened right when I was about to do that so that my workplace shut down and I didn't have the opportunity. Instead, I was going to send these nasty emails accusing them of all these horrible things, but I'm so lucky and grateful that I didn't end up sending those emails. But I was very paranoid at the time, and it had me very agitated and acting in ways that I would never really behave in. I also had grandiose beliefs, so I thought that I was a prophet, but then I was like, I can't be a prophet because Muhammad, peace be upon him, was the last prophet, so I must be some sort of mystical figure. I started to believe that I was a mystical figure from the Quran, Al Khidr, and I thought that because his name means the green one and my name is also means green silk, that I was him and that I had these mystical powers where I could see into these other realms. I also embarrassingly thought that everybody was in love with me. I thought that famous people were going to come to my workplace and confess their love to me, and that's just mania for you. And then the longest delusion I had was that I thought that I was dead or that I was dying. I thought I could explain all these odd occurrences that I was experiencing by thinking that I was in purgatory or in the barzakh. And I thought that's why I could see into these two worlds. I could see into my world and see into a different world. So I thought that I was dead or that I was about to die. And that also started to morph into this belief that nobody around me could hear or see me because I was starting to leave this world. And that lasted a really long time. It lasted a couple of years where every time I was in a crowd of people and nobody was interacting with me or nobody was acknowledging my presence, I would start believing that I didn't exist and that people couldn't hear or see me anymore. I wanted to share these experiences because I know how dangerous and how scary psychosis can be, and I want you to know that you're not alone in your experiences. I just want to emphasize that if you are experiencing psychosis, that doesn't mean that it's a sign of religious punishment. It doesn't mean that it is jinn possession or evil eye. It could be that it's just a medical condition that needs medical treatment. I was starting to experience bipolar disorder at the age of 22, and so I started to experience mania and psychosis. It wasn't anything religious, even though my psychosis had a lot of religious undertones to it just because of my worldview and my lived experience. And the last thing I want to say is that I don't have psychosis anymore. I never even worry about having psychosis as long as I take my medication. With the right treatment, there's so much hope for remission and so much hope for recovery. It takes a very long time of lots of trial and error, and it's a very difficult and frustrating process. But there are really good treatments out there for mental illness, and that can really help with psychotic experiences. It took me 6 years and 11 different medications to finally get to a place where I no longer have psychosis. And that was a very long and difficult journey, but it is possible to make a full recovery. I am proof of that. So please don't give up hope. Keep trying, it's worth the effort. If you're interested in hearing more experiences of psychosis, I would really recommend the book Strangers to Ourselves by Rachel Aviv. This is one of the most nuanced and complex portrayals of severe mental illness that I've ever read about. The book follows the story of 5 people living with mental illness and explores their experiences with severe mental illness. Particularly, the story of Bapu and Naomi really resonated with me. The story of Bapu shows how religion plays a major role in how we understand and experience our mental illness. And Naomi's story talks about how race and the criminal justice system interact with mental illness. It's a very beautiful read, very well written, and the experiences were so relatable to me. I just want to give a trigger warning though that the book does have a death by eating disorder and a child's death, so if that's going to be triggering to you, then maybe skip it. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!